Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. You are with Simone Milasas, your host. How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? I have two of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Steve Bowman, and Mrs. Chutisa Bowman. So welcome, Chutisa.
Ooh, thank you.
Welcome, Steve.
Hi, everyone.
So if you've listened to any of my shows, you would have heard Mr. and Mrs. Bowman on them. They are brilliant at business. They are brilliant at life. They are brilliant at living. And they're always coming up with new generative ideas, which is one of my favorite things about the Bowmans. They're up here in Queensland. We're actually in Peregian Beach. It's hot. Yeah, it's hot because we are not in America. We are in Australia, and it's hot. It's summer. And they stayed at our house last night. We went to a wonderful restaurant yesterday called Spirit House, Thai restaurant. And we're up here for some of Gary Douglas and Dane Heer's more advanced classes in Australia with Access Consciousness. So, and one of my favorite things is to extrapolate with them. And the call today, the radio show today, is called Out of the Box. Now, the reason why I asked Chutisa Bowman and Steve Bowman is our awesome ring-in is the first Access class I ever went to, Access Consciousness class, was called Out of the Box, and it was in Sydney, Australia with Gary Douglas. Now, I met Gary Douglas, I think it was like 15 years ago now, and I met him at a Mind, Body and Spirit festival in Australia. And I had just had a friend who had died. She went to Bali, got bitten by a mosquito and died after 3 days. It was this very rare, mosquito bite. So don't be afraid to go to Bali. We are actually going there at Christmas, and Bowmans are going there just afterwards. But I was a bit of a mess. I was, like that movie, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. I wanted the clocks to stop. I wanted the dogs to stop barking. I just wanted everything to slow down, just to give me a moment to grieve. And I was at a Mind, Body and Spirit festival that I paid, like $10,000 for my stand, which meant that I had to, pull in at least $50,000 to, sort of be creating a successful business. And I'm setting up this stand, and all I wanted to do was just stop. And I had these people across from me who were like hugging heart to heart and I was just angry. I was getting angrier and angrier as the festival went on. And I actually knew an Access Consciousness facilitator, and he walked around the corner, and he was with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and introduced me to him. And he looked at me and he gave me a hug, and I pulled away straight away from this hug. And he looked at me and he said, you'd be a lot better off if you were open to receiving. You'd make more money, your business would be more successful, you'd be happier. And I just sort of gave him this fake smile and looked at him and thought, you have no idea, mister, what is going on in my life right now. I was not receiving anything at all. I was so angry that my friend had died. So anyway, that day, I'd driven all the way down from Queensland to Sydney, which is like a 15-hour straight drive, set up at this festival. I was tired, and that night I could not sleep. All I could think about was this crazy man who said to me, you'd be a lot, better off if you're open to receiving. It just kept going around and around in my head. So the next day, I walked into the festival, hands on my hips, marched over to Gary, and I said, what did you do to me yesterday? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, you told me that I'd be, a lot better off if I was open to receiving. And I was like, what do you mean by that? What is receiving? And he looked at me and he said, would you like to come outside and have a chat? And I was like, no. Yes, no, I don't know. And I was so angry, and he looked at me really calmly, and he was like, why don't you come outside and have a chat with me? And I was like, fine, and went outside. And I don't remember specifically the questions he asked me, but he just had his hand really lightly on my back, and all he did was ask me questions, which I do remember it opened up an awareness in my world of what I had not been willing to look at. And I remember looking at him and thinking, who the hell is this man? And there was something really different about him. And there was these two entrances into the festival. And the entrance, like the entrance on the right-hand side was closest to my stand. The entrance on the left-hand side was closest to his. And he looked at me and he goes, I said, we have to go back in. He said, so which way are you going? And I looked at him and said, well, I'm coming with you. And he was like, okay. He said, would you like to walk around for a bit? And I did. And we were so busy. Like it's in November. I was in, wholesale retail business. So it was an incredibly busy time. And he was doing a class the following weekend called Out of the Box. And I rang my staff in Queensland and said, hey, I'm not going to come home. And they're like, what do you mean you're not coming home? I was like, I'm going to stay down here an extra week and do this class. And if you would like to come down, I'll fly you down and pay for it. And they were like, we can't. It's so busy. Like, this is the busiest time of the year. And they literally talked to me as though I was losing the plot. Maybe I was losing the plot, but that was very much required. So they didn't come down. I stayed, and I remember sitting at the door as close as I could at the back, right near the door, so that I could leave at any moment without, quote unquote, getting noticed is what I thought. So I had this business called Good Vibes for You, and I went to this class called Out of the Box. And I do remember the lovely Chutisa sitting here on my left next to me, coming up and introducing herself to me. I think she was one of the only people that I spoke to there. So I was like, I didn't really want to, it wasn't there to mingle. I wasn't there to make new best friends. It was like, there was just an energy about this class that I knew I had to, quote unquote, receive, the big R word. So that's sort of how I met Gary Douglas and came across Access and went to my first class. Now, Chutisa, so this was your first class as well, correct?
Exactly the same. Similar, same, but different story, Simone. That day that year in Sydney, I was still working as a corporate executive, a senior buyer for a major corporation in Australia. And I had to go up to Sydney for conference meeting with people and was a speaker. And in that moment, very close to where I had to go for a meeting, there was Mind, Body, and Spirit show. So during the lunchtime, I think I went just for a walk to have a look at the things. And there was presentation about from access consciousness that's happening. And I thought, wow, it was such a pooling. I had no idea what access was or who this man is that's giving presentation, but I sensed that I had to go in. So I bought the ticket and went into this presentation. And he was talking about some weird stuff. That it did not fit my corporate executive mindset and point of view in that moment in time. But the one thing that what he said totally grabs me, that he said, if you're willing to receive everything, you can have everything. And in that moment in time, working in corporate jungle was such a painful experience for me. And I used to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to meditate for an hour before I could actually went out to work to face people. And so when I heard that, I thought, wow, that's something really, really unusual. I wonder, what he meant by that. So I seek out the Access Consciousness booth. And I got there, and they were doing this weird stuff, touching head, touching body. When I walked up to them, and there was just a few people saying, do you want to have a session? I said, I don't know, maybe not. So anyway, so I walk around the show, the expo, and then I kept walking back to the thing, and they said, do you want to have a session? So after about 3 rounds of the expo, I ended up said yes. I had the session, had my bars run. And totally while I was having my bars run, the person who was running my bars was just telling me more about Access Consciousness and about Gary. And then I said, look, I want to have a private session with him. I want to know more, And they said, he doesn't do it. he doesn't do private session at the moment. I said, oh, okay, fine. And then I had a private session with him, and then my life changed in that 10 seconds. And then I went back home to Melbourne. I flew home. And I said to Steve, I don't know these weird guys, this whole weird thing, access consciousness. But they are having a weekend class called Out of the Box in Sydney. And I want to go. So that's it. I flew back to Sydney, went to the class, and met Simone.
I love the fact that both of us, the main theme there was receiving as well. As he talked to me about receiving, spoke to you about receiving, and we're like, what? What do you mean about receiving? So it's like, how many of you out there have decided that receiving is a dirty word or it's a naughty word? It's like, you're not supposed to receive. Because one of the points of view I had was, and I remember saying to him, I didn't think I was allowed to receive. I thought I was here on this planet to give. Like, that's what I grew up with. It was like, okay, I mean, the amount of times I've sat around with someone having a glass of wine or, a cup of tea or coffee or something, talking about what our purpose is here in life and what we're supposed to give. And everyone always comes up with who they're supposed to help. And one of the things we talk about in Access Consciousness is help as a level of superiority. And it's like, what if we were actually here to receive from the planet, receive from each other, and create more awareness and more consciousness on the planet? So I just want to put in a little thing here that one of the hands-on processes that Chutisa just mentioned is the bars. So you can find a bars facilitator anywhere that you are. There's thousands and thousands of them around the world. If you go to bars.accessconsciousness.com and find a local bars facilitator and get your bars run, or go to a bars class, even better. It's like $300. And you get to run bars twice. You obviously get taught them. And then you get to receive bars twice. And you get to hang out with a bunch of people during the day and, and learn more about Access Consciousness. And Gary's we're bringing back Out of the Box. So 2017, we've got a worldwide tour, and we're starting off in San Diego. We're starting off in San Diego in February. So it's the 4th and 5th of February with a class with Gary Douglas called Out of the Box, and it's also live streamed, so you can jump on live stream. Now, you do have to have done a bars class to go. That is the only prerequisite, is you have to have done a bars class. So $300, and you become a practitioner as well. You can go off and run bars and earn money. That would be terrible. Oh, what would that mean? Oh, you'd have to actually receive, that big R word. So we're going to head off to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about being out of the box, creating out of the box, and what choices could you make today that might make you a little uncomfortable, but will actually increase the life and living that you currently have. And we bring Mr. Steve Bowman in. All right, we're back really soon. Don't go away, because we're not. Simone Milasas, Joy Business, and you're here with Chutisa and Steve as well.
No one needs to have a money problem, especially you.
Yeah, did you hear that? You have an unlimited and mostly unaccessed capacity to create money and a financial reality that works for you. Simone Milasas has a brand new book. It's called Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And right now, when you go to gettingoutofdebtjoyfully.com, if you pre-order the book, you'll get a free online course. What if you can create money in ways no one else can? Just go to gettingoutofdebtjoyfully.com to get your copy today.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi everybody, welcome back. Here is Simone Milasas on Joy Business, and we're talking about out of the box. So during the break, Chutisa was just saying to me that when she met Gary, she was so in the box. So maybe that was like the attraction of coming out of the box. So one of the things I did want to ask you is, Chutisa, you mentioned in the last segment about how working in the corporate world was painful to you. And it's like, what did you mean by that?
Well, the life of the senior executive was just full of form, structure, and significance there. And particularly when I used to work for major corporations, there were so many rules, regulations, and the things that you could do or shouldn't do or all the above, that it just kept you trapped inside the box that I would call this reality. And like I said to you just before, when I heard Gary for the first time, it was the energy there that actually invited me to see that there are other possibilities besides what I was shooting. Now, I was in the corporate job as an executive for 25 years. So I'm very, very much fully trapped inside the box, you know, with status, with the money, with everything that came with that position. You know, be a senior buyer, senior executive for major corporations that handle multi-million dollars. It can keep you trapped into that contextual reality of, you know, everything that came with that position. So when he talked about receiving, when he talked about different possibilities, it was pretty alien to me, or those concepts, even though I was meditating and things. But I was using meditation as a way to keep me away from the madness. So it wasn't really keeping me outside of the box. Meditation was keeping me into the space that I can deal inside the box.
So a box inside a box.
Yes. Yes. And now just talking to you made me realize that meditation kept me more sane inside the box for me, that I was able to be more functional, not from a space of reactive or judgment. But when I saw Gary for the first time at Mind, Body, and Spirit show, I knew that he had something totally different from what I have been doing in terms of meditation. And I knew that if I chose to go to out of the box class, I would have different awareness of what that possibility could be. And I never looked back. It just totally changed my world, and I left the corporate world.
So, Mr. Bowman, and it's like you've also been working in the corporate world for a long, long time.
Still do.
So do you find that most people stick themselves in a box, and how do you get out of the box? Or
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even realise they're in a box because they've bought into what their sector says is their sector. They've bought into what their profession says is their profession. They've bought into whatever it is that they've already believed is what their box is that they're currently working in. And one of the greatest joys that Chutisa and I have in life is just to give people the glimmering possibility that there's something outside of the box that isn't even there anyway, particularly if they don't buy into what other people are trying to tell them. So, and of course we use the word innovation to describe what we mean by that as well too, or strategy.
A little manipulation in the corporate world.
use the words they're willing to hear. But it's interesting because a lot of people create this box or have the box created for them without even questioning whether or not there should be a box. And the willingness to look at things differently is what creates fantastic organisations and amazing people. But gee, it's hard to get them to look at, maybe I could do things a little different to what everyone else expects me to do.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's easy to do what others expect you to do, because then if you're being measured and remunerated against how others' expectations of you are, that by itself is pretty much a mechanism to keep the box well constructed.
Which is interesting, because I would say that three of us live out of the box, and yet it's like if people think it's easy to have that box, and like as we mentioned before, we were seeking something different, and that's, you know, the reason why I know we fell upon Gary Douglas and Access Consciousness. And I think that this reality sort of projects at you that if you do have that safety, you know, sort of thing of living in a box. I remember my father said to me at one stage, you should get a job in a bank. And I was like, why? And he said, because it's a good, safe job, which is an interesting point of view now. but I was like, I'd rather stick needles in my eyes than have a good, safe job, you know, like to live in the box. So it's like, how many of you are busting and bursting to get out of the box, and yet you've defined your life by this paradigm, whatever that may be. It might be like, oh, I've got the husband and I've got the 2 kids now, and then, you know, and I bought the house, or I've got X amount of money, which was interesting. Chutisa was referring to, you know, multi-million-dollar companies, and it's like you think that money takes you out of the box. Money doesn't take you out of the box. No judgment takes you out of the box. Like, so what are some of the suggestions that you both would have on people to start to sort of look at of like how to get out of the box?
Well, to me, the box has got nothing to do with your profession or what you're choosing to do or not do. It's got everything to do with how you choose to be with the world. And so getting out of the box is not necessarily about changing what you're currently doing. It's very much about changing how you choose to be with the world, how you choose to interact, how you choose to not interact, how you choose to see things. And then by that very nature, the box dissolves.
That sounds a little to me also like something else that you and Chutisa are involved in, talking about leading into, we weren't planning this either, but it's like talking about benevolent capitalism. And it's like, to me, benevolent capitalism is so totally being out of the box. It's not functioning from, you know, the rules and regulations, the form and structure and significance of what you're supposed to do in business, with money, with your life, with, you know, corporations, etc. It's looking beyond that and how you actually, you know, commune with the world and with others. And so can you tell me a little bit more about what you guys are creating with that, Chutisa?
Benevolent capitalism to us is a state of being. And when we talk about it, immediately a lot of people think that it has to do with cooperation, trying to enforce change of the way capitalism actually operates. But the thing is, there's nothing right or wrong about capitalism. And we would like to invite people to see that capitalism in itself is the value neutral. And we put the capitalism in the box by start judging.
Another box.
Start judging it. We judge capitalism from the box that filters through our judgment and through the past reference point of the bad capitalists who did horrible things to the world. What is capitalism? We all can function from capitalism. And if we embrace that capitalism in itself is about creating growth and transformation to the world, and use that capacity that we all have and be to create change from the space of benevolent capitalism, the world will be a better place, and we all will be in a better place because it's about create growth of the capital for ourselves and for the world.
One of the simplest notions, which is one of the most misunderstood and ignored notions, is that everyone has some sort of capital, whether it be $1, whether it be a coffee cup, a cow, whatever. There's always capital. There's always something that you have. What if our way of being with the world was, let's look to see how we can grow from what we already have, rather than waiting for some magical, mystical thing to happen to us where all of a sudden it just appears out of nowhere. And if we do that and overlay on top of that the point of view, and we shall do this for the good of everyone and to minimise any harm on this planet, then by its very nature you can't help but be a benevolent capitalist, no matter where you start.
I like that. And also stop waiting. And it's like, start creating. And also, I mean, what Chutisa was mentioning as well, it's like, it really does come down to coming out of judgment. Because if you function from judgment, you create a box. Instantaneously. The second you function from judgment, you create a box. Rather than coming out of judgment, like as in capitalism, if you come out of judgment, then look at the energy of that. So look at the energy you have of capitalism with judgment. And all the judgments that you pick up, not only just from you, from everybody else around the whole entire world, tap into that energy. I know it's not pretty. And keep tapping into that energy. And then now if you change that point of view, so everything as that is, times a gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds, and start to look at, and you can do this with everything, but then start to look at capitalism from no judgment. Look at it from the growth.
What if capitalism wasn't a conspiracy? What if it actually was a possibility?
And what if you could include it in your life and living and not exclude it? And that is, again, about coming out of judgment. So you are not functioning from being in the box. You're coming out of judgment and you're including everything. I mean, consciousness includes everything and has no judgment. What if you were willing to function from no judgment? Oh, yeah, out of the box. So we are heading off to another break soon, but just before we go, what's some of the websites that people can get you at? What's the Benevolent Capitalism website they can get you at?
It's benevolentcapitalism.com. That's it's a blog website that talk about how you can embody and be benevolent capitalism in your life. We using our own example and our own experience, so you can
tap into that as we're on the break or afterwards. So we'll be back really soon. Don't go away. Here is Simone Milasas, Enjoy Business with Chutisa and Steve Bowman, talking about out of the box, breaking out of the box.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue-collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Putting the fun back in business. Wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, repeat. Business, work, your job, hate it, bored, want to leave it? Or business, work, your job, fun, play, joy, fun. Which would you like to choose? You may not know this, but business, your job, work can actually be fun. Shake up your business routine. Check out my 3-part free video series on putting the fun back in business. Go to accessjoybusiness.com/fun and put the fun back in business.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back, everybody. You're with Simone Milasas, Joy Business, and Chutisa and Steve Bowman, and we're talking about out of the box. Living, being out of the box. What does that mean to you? Well, what it means to Wikipedia, tap into the energy of this or not, it says, an out-of-the-box feature or functionality, particularly in software, is a feature or functionality of a product that works immediately after installation without any configuration or modification. It also means that it's available for all users by default and are not required to pay additionally to use those features. The one thing that I want to mention here, it's like after installation without any configuration or modification. So that's basically you are now in the box. You are now like a robot. You do not need to change anything because you are safe in the box. How many of you are creating your life like that? Is it time to give that up, ladies and gentlemen? I think it might be. There is a experiment that they used to do with these jumping fleas in a glass box, right? So they get these jumping fleas into a glass box, and the fleas would jump because they had a roof, a glass roof, so they would jump as high as the roof can go. So, that's as far as they can go. And then what they would do with the experiment is they would take off the roof, and the fleas, guess how high they jumped? Oh, yeah, only as high as where the roof was before, but there was no roof, there was no lid. So how many of you are still functioning from your glass box that you've created in your life and living with whatever area of your life, you're being you, and you've decided that you have a lid, and you don't. You could actually jump out of the box. So everything that is and everything that is not allowing you to jump out of the box, where you destroy and uncreate it, time to Godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all named shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you haven't listened to one of our shows, then you're like, what the hell is Simone talking about? Same things that Chutisa was like, what is this weird man saying the first time she went out of the box? Same here. I was like, what are they saying? But what happened was it started to take me out of the box. It started to rearrange the schematics of what I had created as my life, like the definitions. I remember waking up just going, I don't know what the hell happened, but I feel different. So what if you're willing to be different, come out of the box? So you want to, I think Chutisa wants to say something. Hang on a second. These guys are great. They lean into me. I can feel them like, let me.
I just love the story about the flea. That just remind me about something in my life. Like, Steve and I create quite a large box for ourselves, but sometimes it's still a box, right? A glass box. And, even though our box is a lot larger, and then we comfortable create a lot of stuff within that box that to other people, they say, wow, you create something amazing and wonderful. And so we keep on making that and keep jumping to that level of the glass roof. And suddenly, if we choose to do something that's totally outside of that box, totally beyond that requires so much more, I realized that as soon as we say to ourselves, oh, that is just beyond this roof, this box, and I can't do it, we just got those fleas that keep trapping outside within that box, instead of looking outside of the box and say, I can jump out of that higher. If I choose, I have no idea where I'm going to fall, but if I jump outside that, something else would happen. I could die because I don't know what's outside that box. But the willingness to choose to jump even just a little bit higher, if I'm that flea, jump out a little bit higher than what I jumped yesterday. Who knows what else I could create outside that level?
Yeah, and recently you and I jumped out of a box. We have a friend of ours, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, is asking us to invest in a castle in Italy. Now, it's a little bit out of the box. You live in Australia. Yes, you can have investments. You can expand your horizons and invest in other places. It's like, how many of you wake up thinking, oh, yeah, I know what I'll do today. I'm going to buy a castle in Italy. So can I ask you, Chutisa, what came up for you recently with buying a castle in Italy?
Well, the thing is, we have a very nice, comfortable and good life. And suddenly, if we're going to be part of this castle in Italy, we have to generate and create lots more money that we are creating right now in the short period of time. So that brings up a lot of stuff. At the moment, and in that moment in time when I was invited to be the part, I was like that free, jumping right up to the level of the classroom, saying, well, like I really have a comfortable life here. Do I want to live out of the classroom to go to Italy and buy the castle? That's all out the box.
And what did Gary say to you? Are you in or you're out?
Are you in or are you out?
No. What's the problems? What comes up for you? Are you in or you're out? Now, interesting too that you mentioned, Chutisa, you mentioned the amount of money that it would take, and then Steve mentioned in a short amount of time. So it's like how many of us sort of have that place of like, oh, I could make the money, but then it becomes about the time span becomes our box. It's like how many of us have that, you have something, your own thing of what that is. And it's interesting because we're sitting in our house right now, and I love our house on the beach. It's beautiful. And it is, you're right. We've created this beautiful house. It's comfortable. We have a great life. And as you guys are talking, I'm realizing that, it's just a bigger box. Mm-hmm. So if we did jump and we had no boxes, what would we create? What could we create?
And, the moment that Gary asked me, are you in or are you out? And I said, of course I am in, not in the box. I'm in the castle, which means I have to choose to be out of the box. And in that moment in time, I immediately went into conclusion, of course, about how can we generate this money? What can I do instead of what can I be to create this money? Steve and I went into schematic thing of how can I actually make money in this box to make that much money in such a short period of time, which totally contrasted my awareness and everything else that it could be possible, because when I said I am in, I'm totally move myself inside of the box about how to create the money instead of move myself outside of the box to generate and create more.
Which is interesting because when you two arrived at our house yesterday, we were just casually sitting around our kitchen bench and we started talking about, I was like, oh, I just started this, option trading thing. And then we started talking about another revenue stream. And then there was another revenue stream just from us talking. And we were like, oh, what if we actually looked at all of these revenue streams as a contribution to our part in buying a castle in Italy? So it's like, and it can be that easy to just create, extrapolate, and see what shows up. Now, the one thing I would say is I have to not be vested in the outcome. Like, I'm asking Chutisa what happened for her. I know what happened for me. Whereas pretty much same story, just slightly different. And it was that place of, like, if I say I'm going to do it, I actually didn't want to let anyone down if I couldn't come through with the goods. Rather than how many of you have that point of view? So then you don't have and live this adventure of life. It's like anything could show up. Heck, we might end up buying a chateau in France instead of a castle in Italy. We don't know. But it's like if you're willing to jump out of the box and actually have that place of adventure, and I'm not talking adventure like go jump out of a plane or go jet skiing. They are things you can include in your life, but is that truly being out of the box, or is it about stepping outside of your comfort zone?
And I think when you said that, when you and I had a conversation about not wanting to let anyone down, have both of us bought into the box of when we make commitment to do something. If we don't do it, it's about letting someone down. Then that's the box of reality.
It is a box. And the funny thing was, Gary said to both of us, what, you think that I can't create it myself? So if we have that point of view that we're going to let anyone down, then it's going to the place of thinking that somebody cannot come through and create more. So you're actually limiting other people in your life by having that point of view. It's a level of superiority that we didn't think we were functioning from. Apparently we are. So everything that is, we're going to destroy and uncreate it and jump right out of the box and see what happens, see what shows up. Times are Godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot all named, shorts, boys and beyond. Steve, in the last couple of minutes of this segment, it's like, what happened for you with bringing up from being out of the box with the castle? Like, what did you go to?
Well, it's interesting because to me there was a sense of excitement behind it. I had no idea how to. I started to configure. we could run more workshops, we could do this, we could do that, we could do the other. But then I pulled myself back from that. And it wasn't until Chutisa and I had the conversation and the sharing of, okay, what if this was totally out of the box? And are we in or are we out? Let's not figure out how. Let's just figure out if we're in or we're out. And we said, okay, so we're into the possibility and out of the box. So that really is where it all started to change. And now we're starting, and from there it came, let's talk to Simone and Brendan, and let's have a look at this, and let's have a chat about this, and let's see if that was possible. And all of a sudden, instead of trying to configure something to make it fit, we're now actually extrapolating and connecting dots that beforehand we'd been refusing to see.
I'm going to steal that. I love that. Into possibilities and out of the box. That's brilliant, because how many of you are, and like the configuration, you're right. It's like people try and configure the how. No, it's not like just sitting back and, drinking a beer on the couch going, right, I'm out of the box now. It's all going to show up. You also have to ask, what action can you take today? And I mean, when we started talking, all of us, we spoke about opening up a trust account together. So a trust, like a company, I know it's a bit different in America, and opening that up, and so that we could buy use that as a share to buy into the castle. So we're like, well, let's just do it. Let's start, open that up, and then see what happens, right? It's not like, well, we are going to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. You don't configure it. It's not linear, like all of us have just discussed. It's not the how. It's like demanding of yourself and requesting of the universe that it's going to show up and asking, what action can I take today? Action, 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 action. So I love that. As we are going off to our next break soon, we're talking about getting into possibilities and out of the box. So how many possibilities are you refusing that if you didn't refuse, it would take you entirely out of the box? The boxes on the boxes on the boxes, and everything that is times a good thing, and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. You want to find out more about the clearing statement that gets you out of the box? Go to theclearingstatement.com and check it out, theclearingstatement.com. All right, so we're heading off to another break, but we'll be back for our last segment talking about out of the box, and as I like to call it, being out of judgment of you and out of judgment of everything around you so that you can create greater possibilities. You're with Simone Milasas on Joy Business Radio Station. We'll be back really, really soon. What do you hate about business? And do you want to change it? If you don't want to change anything about your job or business, stop listening. You're all good. If you'd like to have money just for the fun of it and stop the negative self-talk, check out Joy Business. This is about knowing what you know about business and creating more than you can imagine. Access Joy Business 101 classes offered around the world. Go to accessjoybusiness.com/101.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back. You're with Simone Milasas on Joy Business, and we're talking about out of the box, and we were just having a chat going, all right, what else do we want to talk about in the last segment? I think we said the word out of the box about 50 times. So, and one of the things Chutisa was saying is, how do you know that you're in the box, and how do you get out of the box? Like, so what are some of the ways that you can get out of the box? So one of the things I would like to bring up of some of the ways you can get out of the box is gratitude. And it's like, if you actually have gratitude for what you are currently creating, it's like, then you can allow yourself to create more. And guess what you have when you have gratitude? That big R word that we mentioned in the first segment, receiving. You actually start to receive more. It's like, what if you were grateful for everything that you have created? And this is not about judging you. You listening to the show and walking away and sort of going, oh my God, I've created so many boxes. My box is the smallest. Like, it's not about judging you. It's about the awareness of it. Because if you have the awareness of something, then you can change it. If you are not willing to have the awareness of it, you cannot change it. It's like money. And it's like so many people are not willing to be aware of their financial reality. So can they change it? Absolutely not. They just create this money box, and not one that you put coins into, one that confines you. But if you're willing to be aware of what you are currently creating, and you have gratitude for the amount of money that you haven't created, the amount of money that you have created, then you can start to step out of the box and receive a different possibility. So that's my tool for if you're knowing you're in the box and you can get out of the box. And I think Chutisa has one setting up now.
My tool would be, if you never actually wonder or ask yourself, what else is possible? Could you be really so comfortable in the box that you not have the curiosity to ask, what else is possible? Because if you have to ask what else is possible, you know that there's something else outside your box that you are so comfortable being in. So that's my tool. I ask what else is possible every day.
She does.
I like that. It's like, what else is possible? Now, you ask what else is possible when there's great stuff happening, and ask what else is possible when there's not so great stuff happening. And it's like, you receive a check, you receive a bonus. You're actually allowed to ask, what else is possible? This is awesome. Thank you. It's like, grateful, you're bringing that gratitude in, and what else is possible? And the thing is, because if you ask what else is possible, what you're asking to show up is beyond what you can imagine. And your imagination only knows where it's been, what it's been and done before. So what if you actually ask for what else is possible? What else is possible beyond what you have yet instituted? What else is possible beyond what you have ever imagined? And you can use the pock and pot after that too if you want, or just simply ask the question. So Steve, what's some of your tools or processes, etc., to get out of the box?
Well, one of the things that I find fascinating and I quite enjoy doing is understanding what the box is and the rules around the box and how to make use of those rules of the box so that I can manipulate the box without actually being in the box. So what that means is if I feel I'm in the box on something, I want to know a little bit more about what that box is, and then what are the rules that everyone else expects. Use those rules, but do it by not buying into them as rules. So finance, for example, understanding about finance. Not to be a financial person, but just to understand how the rules work. Tax, law, all that is fascinating. Wonderful, incredibly stuff, because you don't buy into the reality of it. You just know how to use it when and if you need to use it. So I would say, the thing is, understand there is a box. Don't judge it. Understand everything you can about the box. Educate yourself about the box. And the more you do that, the more likely you are to choose to actually get out of the box as well too.
So Steve, some of the people listening now have gone, he mentioned all those words that I hate, the words that I don't want in my box.
Welcome to their box.
So can you give me, so a short story, it's like we have, when you have a company in Australia, you have what's called a constitution. So I think it's different in America, and it's same constitution, which I think is one of the funny things is the constitution, which is the basic set of rules that are set up for the formation of a company. So there is a standard one when you open up a company, and then you can actually read the constitution and you can institute changes as you're setting it up. Now, to me, the constitution was one of the most boring things in the world, and Steve was like, no, it's not. And he goes, you just have to read it and look at what you can manipulate and what you can play with if you, decide to choose and change something. And he actually got me to love reading Constitution. one of my favourite constitutions is the Australian Constitution. Did you know that at any time in the Australian Constitution it is written that New Zealand could become another state of Australia if they both so choose, which is very interesting to me because New Zealanders, I think, would rather go down dying than become a state of Australia.
Yep.
It cracks me up. So it's like, but the one thing you said too was about the education. So for some people that freaks them out, it's like, what's some of the simple things that you would advise that they start to have a look at and do?
Oh, I don't know, something like get onto YouTube and type in everything I want to know about legal that is simple. Or, whatever it is, anything where you go eek is potentially the area that you will make both the most money and help you get out of the box. So if you look at the eekness in your box and look to see, well, what is it that I can educate myself on there? And even if you type in, option trading, all right? Oh, I don't know anything about option trading. Hate option trading. Well, maybe you search around YouTube and find a couple of funny videos on it and start to change your point of view about it. The information is out there now more than ever before in the history of the world. Access to knowledge and information is out there. And one of the things that Gary Douglas has said that has reverberated in this thick skull of mine for many years now is information creates awareness. It is value neutral. It's neither good nor bad. So receive the information. It will create other awarenesses for you. Go seeking that information.
It's funny as you say that because yesterday when you guys showed up too, I was talking about an options trading thing that I just opened. And one of the things that is interesting to me is interesting and not interesting is currency trading. I deal with currencies all day. Because we're so worldwide with access consciousness, so I'm very aware of different currencies, etc. Not as in the norm, just living in Australia and just, dealing with AUD currency. So I'm aware of it, and I was looking at it thinking, I should actually know more about this, or this should be fun for me. And it's not. Currency trading is currently not fun for me, but what I'm willing to look at is destroy and uncreate that box that I created around it, because what I do perceive is an energy. I have no idea what that energy is, and I do perceive an energy of money that another revenue stream that I could be making from currency trading. So this trading account that I opened up, it's like you can either trade yourself or they trade for you. The lowest amount was $250 US. So I was like, all right, what's the worst thing that can happen? I lose $250 US. Okay. But I've stepped out of my box with my point of view in regards to currency trading and start to see what's that like. And I have no idea what I'm about to receive or what I'm about to learn, etc. So what box are you currently creating that if you stepped out of it, even if you just perceive an energy of a possibility, move towards it? What's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, I lose $250 US. Or what is the worst thing that you've decided could happen? And is it actually really that bad? So it's time to step out, ladies and gentlemen, into possibilities and out of the box. So if you would like to find out more about where Chutisa and Steve actually does these amazing masterclasses around the world, not just in Australia. These guys travel pretty much almost as much as me, I think, maybe more sometimes. You can find Steve and Chutisa at these current websites.
consciousgovernance.com or benevolentcapitalism.com, and they're probably the two main ones.
And they've written a plethora of books as well, which are a great source of information for business, for creating more. And they've also got, what have you got up there?
Just some white papers that we've done.
Some white papers that they've done. Choice, Future, Communities, 7 Skills of a High-Performing Board Member, 10 Powerful Questions for Board Members and Business Owners. That you can get these online at the consciousgovernance.com. So check it out. And also, don't forget, Gary Douglas is doing the first, bringing it back after 15 years, out-of-the-box class in San Diego, USA, in February on let me find it again, I think it's the 4th and 5th. It is the 4th and 5th, no, that's in March, that's in Munich. If you want to go to Munich, in Germany, you can go there too. But it's the 4th and the 5th in February as well. Didn't even see that we planned that. That was brilliant planning. It's always the 4th and the 5th of the month. Out of the box, go to GaryMDouglas.com, or you can go to accessconsciousness.com and find the Out of the Box class near you. Both of them are live streamed. What does that mean? That means you can sign up for the live stream. We'll send you the details. You're literally watching it from your computer. It's on our accessconsciousness.tv site, which you can go there now, and there's some free stuff that you can watch on there as well. So you'll be having Gary Douglas doing the 2-day class. What's the prerequisite? Remember? Bars class. That's all you have to do to get there is do a bars class. What's the worst that can happen if you get your bars run? Oh, yeah, it's going to feel like a great massage, or it can start to change your entire life. I actually just ran my son's bars this morning because he looked like he was going to pass out before he went to school, and it made me feel so much better. So how does it get any better than that? So we have about 1 minute to go. Chutisa, anything else you want to offer the listeners on being out of the box?
Just don't miss it. There's so many coming up this coming year, 2017. If you can choose one in your area, if not, live stream it.
And what I'd like to add is, even if you don't come to a class, just start to ask, what would it take to be out of the box? Oh, yeah, if you even just start to ask a couple of questions. Questions will always take you out of the box, because a question will always bring new possibilities. An answer and conclusion will keep that lid on your box. See?
I would just say change your point of view about being in the box or being out of the box, and change your point of view, just one little point of view at a time.
Or change a big point of view. I like that. So thank you so much, Steven and Chutisa, for joining me. You guys are awesome, and I'd love to have you back on the show again really soon, because you guys have so much awesome stuff to say. So thank you, Ms. Chutisa.
Thank you, Simone, for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. And don't forget to check out accessjoyofbusiness.com. Find a local Joy of Business facilitator near you and sign up for a 1-day class, Joy of Business 101, Business Done Different. Change your life, change your business, change your money flows, change everything. Do it.